Hey there berries, hope you're doing well. Welcome to another support League of Legends tier list. This is for patch 13.15. I do apologize that I haven't done a support tier list for now maybe a couple of months. I think it's been a few patches since I did the last one. Honestly, two reasons why. The lack of patch notes, mainly because there hasn't really been a whole lot changed with the support role. The last couple of tier lists I felt like almost like no point in making one just because there was no changes. The second one also, I was kind of getting a bit bored of League, so I was playing another game, which you probably know if you've been on the channel for a while. But I am stopping playing the other game for a bit now and going back to League. But I am taking a 1 week holiday, so there aren't going to be any streams until next Friday. But I do plan on having as many daily uploads as possible. On the stream today at Wednesday, the 2nd of August, I'm planning to do a very, very long League stream and trying to get some content out for you YouTubers. But yeah, so this patch is about 13.15. I have made a fair amount of adjustments now, particularly now that we've got the Emerald rank. So my tier lists now are all the way, usually it's meant to be down for like low plat, but I think now we can basically say like if you are in unranked to plat, like even high plat now, my tier list should apply to you. If you're in emerald or above, you'll start to see maybe your own picks and what you're maining more likely to give you the better win rates and things like that. But this should apply still for like 90% of the League audience in terms of giving you direction of what to play. So we're going to go very briefly over the things that are going to affect support in terms of this patch. There are a couple of things to discuss. In terms of nerfs, there are no support nerfs. Woo. In terms of buffs, we've got a Caitlyn buff, we've got a Nami buff, and adjusted, we have Annie and Rel. So a couple of things going into this one, but there's been a couple of things in all the patches, and which has now basically led to me actually doing one. So Caitlyn is getting a buff. It's a passive just general harassment increase in terms of crit chance ratio. So double poke in lane with a Caitlyn will be ever so slightly better. Nothing too crazy. Probably will adjust her win rate by like 0 point something, but not too crazy. Going down here into the list, we've got a Kaiser nerf. Kaiser's going to be a bit weaker. I've never liked laning with a Kaiser. I'm not sure how you guys have felt about it, but every time I lane with a Kaiser, her laning phase is usually pretty bad because how easy she is to harass. But yeah, she's getting nerfed this patch, so playing with Kaiser is going to be even more fun. Haha. So just bear that in mind. Nami has been struggling gradually over the last few patches. If you've been following my tier list for a long time, she's definitely always been like tier 1 or tier 2. Spoiler alert, she's not even in tier 1 or tier 2 at the moment, and even after these changes. So she is getting buffed. So the passive movement speed is going up. So whenever you give an allied champion or yourself a heal, or if you land a bubble on an ally, or your ulti like kind of brushes over them, then they get movement speed, or you also get movement speed. That's getting increased slightly, a little bit on the base, plus 10, and a extra 0.05 have I said that right? AP ratio. Nothing too crazy, honestly. It's probably the biggest buff out of the two. Yeah, it's not great. It's okay. And then the Aqua Prison as well, the damage is going up, but you're not maxing your Q anytime soon. So the base damage when you've got 1 point in Q is the most notable point there, and that's going up by plus 15. Now, the reason why I don't think this is going to affect Nami's win rate, at least in our tier list, is because I'm going to be honest here, most of you guys miss your Qs. I know a lot of people that play Nami struggle to learn their Qs, so basically the bonus damage from the Q isn't really going to be a massive factor. The main thing is the passive movement speed, which is okay, but it's like, that's the only thing that's really going to buff Nami. It's not great. We need a little bit more than this, I think. Maybe something on the W, maybe a tiny bit of extra healing or damage on there would be nice. But until then, I mean, they said it specifically here. We wanted to be very careful with W and E, which are primary support tools. I mean, the win rate in lower elo is pretty bad, so they kind of have to buff the W and E in order to help the lower skill rate, you know, lower skill, no offense, people, in order to get more use out of the champions. So I think that's kind of a silly statement to say. Really, they have to buff a W or an E. They're trying to avoid it, but unless you make this like literally double, I don't see how that's gonna work. But we shall see. Rel has had a couple of quality of life adjustments, but nothing really that crazy, honestly, and nothing that, you know, that will maybe like a 0.1% increase in win rate, like nothing crazy, just a couple of like weird things. Going down into the list, still we have an Annie change, where basically Annie is getting changes on her Tibbers armor and magic resistance. It's now like scaling over the course of the game, as opposed to hitting those specific like level brackets. I think that might be overall a slight nerf. Yeah, Tibbers durability decreased, and the health has also kind of gone down on those early levels. So this is going to nerf support Annie Tibbers. It's going to make it so that you actually want a little bit more of actual levels in order to be able to get more out of Tibbers. So as you can see here, 5 to 10% durability decrease. So this is going to affect mid lane Annie, but this is going to affect support Annie the most. So I've also reflected that, because that is a little bit of enough on Tibbers. Tibbers was actually one of the reasons why she was quite good in the bot lane. Heimerdinger ulti nerf as well, in case you play Heimerdinger support, but meh. They've also making some changes to Glacial Augment. They think that Glacial Augment is pretty overpowered right now and can end up feeling bad when dominant on tank supports. So, in this patch, we're nerfing the base value of it, increasing the stats benefits that tank supports generally don't have. This should help non-tanks at the 2 item breakpoint with more effective slow, while pure tanks won't be able to use their base slow as effectively. So this is going to impact, this is going to be a little bit of a nerf to pretty much any tank that use Glacial Augment. They're going to try and make it so that tanks maybe shift into more of Aftershock. I think still like champions like that do need kind of, I think Glacial Augment's still going to be pretty strong in tanks. I don't see how they can avoid that. I think something like on Niamumu is still going to be pretty oppressive, and things like that. In terms of, you know, getting more heal and shield power, and then a Glacial Augment champion, I mean, you're looking at maybe a Janna buff here. Honestly, Janna probably didn't need a buff, and this is going to be a Glacial Augment Janna buff. Other than that, I can't really think of any other enchanters that would necessarily want to pick up Glacial Augment, or even any magic dealers that would necessarily want to pick up Glacial Augment. Like even on Zyra, I wouldn't even pick it up. Just trying to think. There's not really that many non-tank uses of Glacial Augment, so it's kind of weird that they want to say like, we want tanks to stop using Glacial Augment, but not buff Aftershock, and kind of make it useless for even enchanters to even look to pick up. So I think they'll have to just generally change the interaction of Glacial Augment if they want enchanters to pick it up, maybe proc it off slows or something, I don't know. But yeah, I think Janna's going to get a cheeky little buff out of this one, so keep an eye on that one. And that is it for patch notes. Once again, nothing too crazy. Probably the craziest one actually we'll probably feel is the Glacial Augment one. Be interesting to see if many tanks still pick up Glacial Augment. And that brings us straight into the tier list. A few adjustments here, because there are other patch notes that we haven't discussed over the previous patches. There was things like Milio getting nerfed. Milio is now pretty garbage, and also Yuumi is now very super garbage. So Yuumi is now a new entry into the tier 5 do not play. Do not play Yuumi, do not touch her. She might have rabies, okay? So don't touch Yuumi. Tier 4 is Milio and Lulu. All of these kind of enchanters that are buffing up AD carries, particularly in ELOs in Plat Minus, is just not worth playing. Just do not bother. The exception to that rule is maybe like Sona right now, because it's not like you're not hyper focused on just one champion, right? You're not focused on just one AD carry. If your AD carry is bad, then you are basically worthless. Unless you have maybe like a Kindred jungle that's doing particularly well, because basically you need a physical ranged AD carry that is going to do well on your team in order to succeed on these enchanters most of the time. And not having that, particularly in the lower elos, someone that's playing like perfectly pretty much, you know, most of the time in most of the team fights, positioning wise, it's just no point playing, honestly. Going up to tier 3. Now tier 3 champions are kind of champions that you can still play, but you have to be exceptionally good. I've actually moved Brand down from tier, I mean at some point he probably was tier 1, now he's tier 3. He's not doing too hot. Get it. And neither is Annie. The Annie durability nerf reflects that in the tier list. She's been slipping away a little bit. I think maybe because more people have been trying her out, her win rate has also been reduced. But she's not doing too great. Brand's doing pretty bad right now. There are other AP options that you should be looking at if you want to take like, I want to carry this game kind of mentality as a support. Brand, I don't recommend that at all. Nami has also been moved down to tier 3. I think these buffs were needed. I think I was going to put her in tier 4, if I'm going to be completely honest. I think these buffs will push her win rate up slightly. Maybe give her like another 0.5, which sounds like a lot, but right now she's not doing good at all. She's going to need another buff on her W or her E. Riot's avoiding it because, you know, they're scared to make Nami too strong, but it's not going to be enough. They're going to have to buff her in a patch or two again, guaranteed. Everyone else there, once again, you can play if you like one-tricking them. I don't really recommend playing them overall, but they're okay. Tier 2 is where you start getting some more interesting champions to play. We've got the Alistair, Rel, Blitzcrank, Taric, Xerath, and Rakan. Now, a couple of those champions you don't have to play with Glacial Augment as well. You can do, you don't have to. But I think Glacial Augment is still going to be one of the most useful tank runes, but you know, you don't necessarily have to take it. Just get a feel of your games really, and trying to decide whether it's worth having the slow to catch out for kill potential, or if it's just going to be better for you to be a bit more tankier. But Xerath is generally doing pretty well if you want kind of like, you know, the solo dominance thing. Blitzcrank is always a noob stomper. Alistair's been rising up in the ranks lately. He's doing particularly well. Rel's just been generally fine to play. Yeah, and Rakan's just okay as well, like particularly well with the Xayah combo. But Rakan's, all of these champions here, kind of tanky, most of them. But yeah, generally doing pretty well. Even with the Glacial Augment change, I don't think much will change, honestly. Yeah, just really decent champions to play. Not the easiest though, I would say, from that list. Not all of them are particularly easy, but in the tier 1, we still have the tier Uwu, still got 5 champions up there. Nami was the one who fell pretty heavily from this list. Zyra is doing amazingly right now. She is definitely the queen of AP carries. In the bot lane, she is by far the strongest. If you want to play an AP in the bot lane, play Zyra. There's literally no reason to play anything else in my opinion. Just play Zyra. The others in that list, Sona's doing okay. She's still pretty strong, very easy to play. In a newer player kind of perspective, Sona is doing like very well, but the best enchanter out of the 3 that are there is going to be Janna with that Glacial Augment buff. Like generally, I know some people were maybe taking Summon Airy. I think a lot of Janna players will now shift back into Glacial Augment. That slow should be much more substantial now. So, yeah, if you already were playing Glacial Augment Janna, you're definitely going to notice a slow increase when you get into more of that mid game. Very, very early in laning phase, you probably will notice the fall off. But once you start picking up your first heal and shield item, seeing those buffs go through, if you manage to get into a late game, the Glacial Augment should actually be really, really, really good. So Soraka has been doing really, really well. She's actually getting a really nice skin. I know this isn't relevant to tier lists, but just saying, Soraka's getting a really nice skin in the next patch, I believe it is. I recommend that you look at it. It looks really, really good. So yeah, if you're not playing League at the moment and you're waiting for something like a really cool Soraka skin to play League again, it's really, really good. It's one of the few skins where I've gone like, okay, I need that skin, and the Soraka skin looks really, really good. And in terms of tanks, Amumu is doing really, really well. He's the best tank, in my opinion, for you to play. The double banjo toss always catches people off guard. If you miss the first one, you're going to have another charge. So yeah, and his ulti is extremely powerful. Very, very easy to play. Definitely on the squishier end. You could potentially opt in to not doing a Glacial Augment on a Mumu now and doing something a little bit more tankier, like the Aftershock, for example. Could be quite nice as a replacement, just to make you a little bit tankier when you're doing those initial engages, because a Mumu is very, very squishy. He's a very, very squishy tank, even when you're buying tank items. So the Glacial Augment was there to try and add to the catch potential, but you don't need it. Honestly, he's got 2 stun engages plus his massive AoE stun ulti, and Glacial Augment ends up getting a little bit wasted, in my opinion. So yeah, you can definitely run Aftershock on a Mumu. But yeah, sorry once again for the lack of tier lists and patch notes and things like that. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to be streaming a lot of League today, so yeah. I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, since I'll be away for a week, I won't be replying to any YouTube comments and things like that. But next Friday, which will be, let me just check the date. I will be back in streaming and making YouTube videos again from the 11th onwards. But as I said, I will still have videos scheduled to upload as I'm away, just to make sure there's something still posted on the channel for you to watch. Yeah, all the best, take care, hope this tier list helps you out, and good luck in your rank climb. Bye!